Bruh. Why are you running? Why are you running?
Alright, sorry guys, it's been a little bit. I kind of took a small break from Master Duel after the Synchro Cup because goddamn stage 2 of the Synchro Cup was quite awful, and there's another Duelist Cup next month too, so we get no breaks from that. Like, you know, I'm gonna be playing stage 2 of the Duelist Cup next month. I'm gonna be doing that to myself, so I didn't want to burn out too hard. So yeah, in the meantime, I was just trying to, like, you know, take it chill for a little bit, try to get the Master 1 with a deck that wasn't exactly Ryzeal or Maliss, because, you know, God forbid this format allows you to play any other deck besides those two. And the deck I ended up playing was you know, it's probably not that much more interesting to you, but it's Fiendsmith Control. This Primite Fiendsmith Control, this deck here is probably one of the most suited decks to actually compete in this meta that's not Ryzeal and Maliss, mainly because, as you can probably tell, this deck has lots of hand traps. I'm not gonna make you count the hand traps yourself. I'm just gonna tell you right now, this deck has 19 hand traps. This is probably maybe the deck that can run the single most amount of hand traps in this format right now, besides maybe Tenpai. And I personally think that Fiendsmith Ryzeal, whoa, no, there ain't no Ryzeal cards in this deck. But I mean, Fiendsmith Primite has maybe the single best hand trap lineup in the entire game going for it, and the fact that this is a deck that can run Nibiru, which I think Nibiru is good, which I'll explain a bit later, even though some people might see that as a odd statement. But yeah, Nibiru and Dominus Purge. The Dominus Purge is also quite good. So why I think these hand traps are good: Nibiru is the best hand trap paired with another hand trap. Like, for example, you play against Ryzeal or Maliss, the main two decks. If you have Nibiru plus like a Veiler, Nibiru plus an Infirm, the Nibiru will usually resolve, and when the Nibiru resolves, it basically wipes your board and it ends your turn. So it is the most impactful hand trap when it does resolve. Obviously, Nibiru by itself doesn't do anything in this format, but I mean, let's be honest here. There's not a single hand trap in the entire game aside from Max C that will end Maliss or Ryzeal players' turns, you know, by itself. So if every hand trap basically sucks, you basically have to draw 2 hand traps to have a chance anyways. So if with that logic, if every hand trap has to be paired with another hand trap to be useful, then Nibiru is the best one out of that, because at least when the Nibiru is paired with another hand trap, it's the most impactful. It has the most potential to end turns, and yeah, and you know, it gets the stuff off the board. So, like, you know, the Appaloosa, the detonator, the whatever, the stuff on the board, it gets rid of them, so you don't have to deal with them as well. Whereas, you know, some other combinations of hand traps, if you draw, like, you know, 2 Veilers or 2 Infirms, you might be able to stop them doing their full combo, but they're still going to have random pieces of their endboard still on their endboard that you're going to have to deal with after hand looping yourself by using 2 hand traps. So, like, when Nibiru resolves, it's fine. Like, Nibiru by itself does not do anything, but, you know, neither does any other hand trap. And Purge is one of the, you know, it is an above average hand trap, I will say. I think Purge is on average probably better than, like, Veiler, for example, and sometimes it even performs better than Ashe, especially, you know, given, like, the Maliss matchup. For example, Ashe is, you know, as you know, Ashe is terrible in the Maliss matchup because this card called Appaloosa exists, and when they do their Dormouse combo, the best Ashe target is after they make Appaloosa. The best Ashe target is, like, when they go so, like, when they go Maliss and Underground, banish the mirror, and then the mirror will, when it gets banished, it adds them their White Rabbit, and then they get to banish a Red Ransom in the grave, and then they do that combo. You know, that would be the best place to Ash Maliss. However, at that point, the Appaloosa is already on the field, so the Ash doesn't actually do anything. Purge, on the other hand, Purge being a trap card means that you can actually purge that even with an Appaloosa on the field. Even though, like, you know, a lot of people see Purge as being a worse Ash Blossom, which, you know, in a vacuum it is. So if Ash is bad, you know, wouldn't Purge be bad? But Purge being a trap card specifically, you know, aside from playing around cards like Triple Tactics Talent and so on and so forth, the fact that it can be used under Appaloosa to hit a massive choke point like the Maliss and Mirror, it's huge, because when you hit Maliss and Mirror, it's like a Dominus Impulse. Like it's that level of impact where it could potentially end their turn right there, because they've already gone through their March here as well, so they really need a Bystial to be able to extend past the Dominus Purge. Otherwise, they're ending on Appaloosa Pass, and Appaloosa Pass is way easier to deal with than, you know, Appaloosa plus the rest of the Maliss Endboard. Like you just normal summon Effort Bearer or normal summon or like Rolly Load, and then that deals with Appaloosa, and then like you can actually play a real game of Yu-Gi-Oh! And yeah, so Purge has the potential to be one of the few single hand traps that actually has a decent chance to potentially end the Maliss player's turn. It's similar to like Dominus Impulse, for example. And versus Ryzeal, for example, Ryzeal, Purge is actually way better than Dominus Impulse, because, you know, Dominus Impulse only has one target versus Ryzeal, which is the ice, really. Whereas Purge being a trap card means that, one, it gets around Ryzeal Cross. So, you know, if they're trying to add off Dual Drive, you can purge their Dual Drive, and then even if they have access to Cross, it will still negate the Dual Drive add, which is pretty nice. And the fact that it is a hand trap that can negate Dual Drive means that it pairs very well, because in order to stop Ryzeal, you really, the best way to stop Ryzeal is you gotta stop the Star Ryzeal and you gotta stop the Dual Drive. If you have two hand traps and both of them can stop a Star Ryzeal and a Dual Drive, that means they don't have access to Cross, and probably not plug-in or plasma either. They have to hard draw their Ryzeal Stellar traps, and the Ryzeal Stellar traps are really what make the Ryzeal Endboard difficult to deal with. If you're just dealing with a naked detonator without any of these spell traps, especially without Cross, that is so much easier to deal with. Especially in a deck like Fiendsmith Primite. The Fiendsmith engine is one of the best engines at playing into an actual detonator, because Chaos Angel is an insane card versus detonator, and if they don't have Cross, then one Engraver lets you make a Chaos Angel without activating any effects, without giving the detonator any opportunity to pop anything, and it just outs the detonator right there, the Chaos Angel. So yeah, what you do is you just use Fiends of Engraver, you special summon, you activate Engraver, you add track, add Lurie, pitch yourself to Grave, special summon itself, you make a Requiem, then you use Engraver effect, engrave the special summon itself before you use Requiem's effect. So like you will use Engraver to shuffle back the Lurie, then you will chain Fiend's Requiem. At that point, there's no cards for your opponent to pop with Detonator, so like the Detonator doesn't do anything. Then you summon Lacrima, and then the Engraver comes back, and you don't use Lacrima's effect. So at that point, Detonator still cannot pop anything, and then you just go into Chaos Angel. And if they don't have a Ryzeal Cross, which is the idea with this deck, you have 19 hand traps to try and negate your opponent's access to Ryzeal Cross. Then you make a Chaos Angel light. Detonator cannot pop it because a light Chaos Angel is unaffected by monster effects, and then it's simple right there. It's gone. You don't have to worry about that anymore. Worst case scenario, if you don't have access to Engraver, like they don't have Cross, you can also just make a Typhon. Typhon works too. Like you just make Typhon clear the Detonator, and you can still play a grind game that way, because again, you hand trap their Star, you hand trap their Dual Drive. They don't have as much follow up because they don't have access to Cross. So like you can still win games like that. And this is also why Nibiru is why I said Nibiru is like probably the best hand trap to resolve versus Ryzeal, because if you have Nibiru and Valor, for example, you can Valor their Star Ryzeal so that they don't have access to Ryzeal Cross. That way, unless they don't use Ice Ryzeal, which, who the hell plays Ryzeal without resolving Ice Ryzeal? Like, who does that, right? But as long as they resolve Ice Ryzeal and they get the Star and you negate the Star, their fifth summon will be Dual Drive. And then, obviously, their Dual Drive without the Ryzeal cross means that it's vulnerable to Nibiru. So you can just Nibiru their entire field. They don't even end on a detonator afterwards. They just end on nothing. So like that's like fantastic. That like if you resolve Nibiru plus Imperm or Nibiru plus Effect Pillar, that's actually extremely fucking strong against Ryzeal. And another thing about Dominus Purge in particular, why it's so good in this deck, is because every time you go first, your Endboard is going to involve you having a Lacrima with a Fiendsmith Requiem engrave most of the time. And with that setup, you will go Lacrima to summon Requiem, Requiem will summon Lacrima, and the Lacrima will dump Fiendsmith in Paradise. Which means that whenever you go first, you always have a trap in graveyard, which means that Purge is always going to pop a card when you go first. So that's extremely relevant. That makes Purge even better. Like, honestly, it makes Purge better than Ash when you go first. So, yeah, you pop a lot of cards with Purge. And also, the thing with Purge is that you'll notice I'm not running Bystials. So, like, obviously, you cannot run Bystials and Purge in the same deck. And previously, Fiendsmith Primite would have played Bystials like the Billion. I think many people still play Bystials in Fiendsmith Control over Purge, which, personally, I'm not a fan of Bystials this format. Number one, Bystials, as we all know, are not good hand traps as interruption. Like, Bystials are not a good hand trap against Maliss, and honestly, they're not really that good. They're not really a hand trap versus Ryzeal either. Like, the main benefit of playing the Bystial engine right now in this format is the fact that Regain is good against Maliss. However, that's only when you go first, and me beating Maliss going first is not my biggest concern in that matchup. Especially since You're running like a 6-card Bystial package, 7-card Bystial package with Brand Regain most likely, minimum, with all of these cards being bad going second versus Maliss. That's not what you want. Like, that Maliss is already a hard enough matchup as it is. You don't want to play even more cards that are subpar in that matchup. And versus Ryzeal, Druid's Worm in theory does out Detonator. However, in reality, that's kind of fake, because Druid's Worm will only out Detonator if they don't have Ryzeal Cross, which means that you still need other hand traps in order to stop them from getting crossed in the first place, in order for Druid's Worm to even be able to out the Detonator. And as mentioned before, they have 2 ways to cross: Star Ryzeal and Dual Drive. You have to have 2 other hand traps to negate their cards in order for Druid's Worm to be able to out a Detonator. That's like pretty wishful thinking, honestly, and like compared to Purge, where Purge is actually one of the hand traps you can use to actually negate Dual Drive in order to actually stop them from getting Ryzeal Cross in the first place. The Bystials, like they're not doing anything by themselves. The fact that you need like specifically 2 other cards in order to for the Bystials to do anything in the Ryzeal matchup makes it so that I really do not like playing the Bystial package anymore. So instead, Purge, I think Purge is like a good hand trap this format, and the Bystials are not good hand traps this format. And also, like, if anything, I think that this deck in particular, especially this build, is probably one of the better decks, if not one of the best decks, to actually deal with the Ryzeal matchup in particular. Just because besides just the hand trap lineup, which I've been going into detail over this entire time, this deck's Endboard and this deck's combo is completely immune to. It's completely immune to X Send Aggregator. Okay, so like generally, what this deck is trying to end on is, as I'm not playing Caesar, it's because Caesar is not good in the format with Ryzeal in it. Okay, instead we're making Lars instead. So Lars is crazy good against Ryzeal because of this first line of text where it says, while this card has material, your opponent cannot target with monster effects. That means that they cannot X Send Aggregator and negate your Lars. So, like, Lars is just an Omni negate, and they can't, X it. If you were to make Caesar blind and your opponent's playing Ryzeal, like, that's just not very good at all. Because then they will just go X, Send Aggregator, negate your Caesar, and then the Caesar does just jack shit. Like, you just wasted your rank 6. Like, if I knew I was playing against Maliss every single time, obviously Caesar would probably come up, but this is the best of 1 format. There's no way to know what you're actually playing against turn 1 unless your opponent like Dominus impulses you turn 1, which is like, that's already doesn't even happen that often. So if you can't tell your opponent is on Maliss or Ryzeal, then making a Caesar blind means that like half the matchups you're just gonna be making a terrible card on your end board, whereas Evilzar Lars is just more consistent. Like, it's always going to do something versus Maliss, and versus Ryzeal, it's actively way better than Caesar. Like, not even close. And You might say that, well, you're playing Nibiru then by making Lars instead of Caesar. But honestly, Caesar playing around Nibiru with Caesar in Fiendsmith Control specifically is kind of fake, because you will never be able to make Caesar in 5 summons anyway. Like Caesar, like you will always summon at least 5 times before you make Caesar. So if your opponent has a Nibiru and I have 2 level 6 Fiend monsters on board, they're just gonna Nibiru me before I can even make the Caesar in the first place. So like you never, if you are using Caesar to play on Nibiru, you never actually get to make the Caesar in the first place, because they're just gonna Nibiru you before you make the Caesar. And especially savvy opponents will realize that if you also have a lordly load on the field, right? Even if you do make Caesar, they're just gonna wait until the end of the turn where you use lordly load to summon out your vanilla monster, because you want to make your drill beam live. And then after you use lordly load's effect, you can't use Caesar on the field. So then they can still nib you even when you make a Caesar on the field. So like the entire like Caesar playing on Nibiru is like completely fake in Fiendsmith Prize, in a Fiendsmith Primite. Like that's just not really a thing. Like if they have Nibiru, if they have Nibiru, they have Nibiru. Just take it, okay? It's just one of your interruptions. You still have your engraved Fiendsmith interruptions, and you still have access to Paradise. Which, by the way, Paradise on top of along with Lars, Paradise insane versus Ryzeal as well, because as long as Paradise is engraved, it means that the dual drive will pretty much always be checked, because the moment they summon dual drive, you can just Paradise, banish, send Desiree, send the dual drive, you know, easy money. And yeah, and as mentioned, as long as you have another hand trap for their star Ryzeal, then you can just get them off of their Ryzeal engine. You can get them off their scary Ryzeal cards, and even sometimes even you can even just Fiendsmith in Paradise preemptively before they even make a rank 4 Xyz, so that they can't even summon the star Ryzeal from their hand. Like Paradise is it's insane. Your opponent has to jump through crazy hoops to play around Paradise as the Ryzeal player. Like they have to make a fucking Star Liege or some shit like they gotta make a fucking Star Liege before they make a dual drive, so they gotta make 2 rank 4s in order to be able to not get blown out by Paradise. In which point, like, all I'm saying is, like, good luck making a Star Liege plus a dual drive into like all my hand taps plus, you know, something like a Lars, for example. And yeah, the funny thing is about this next Endboard that I'm trying to go for is, like, there's only like 3 monsters you ever end on in this deck right now. It's either going to be Lars, which, you know, cannot be targeted by Aggregator. It's going to be Desiree equipped with a sequence, which means your Desiree can't be targeted by Aggregator that they send off X, or you're going to have like a driver on the field. The driver on the field to make your drill beam live. And obviously, you know, X send Aggregator doesn't do anything to driver either. So this deck's entire Endboard, no matter what you do, no matter what you end on, this deck is pretty much just completely immune to Aggregator send X. So, you know, that's really nice. It's nice to know that when you make your Endboard, it's resilient enough to where your opponent, you know, their engine is not actually good at playing into your Endboard. So, yeah, and yeah, onto the actual, you know, main deck itself. So you know, it just shouldn't take it, like, the actual engine itself is just pretty obvious, doesn't really need that much explanation. So, like, you have 3 Effort Barrel, 3 Lordly Load, 3 Fiendsmith Tract, 1 Lacrima, 2 Engraver, the Vanilla Stipity plus Driver for, like, Gamma, because Gamma is also really good hand trap. Then, you know, 1 Lurie, and then 1 Roar, 1 Drill Beam, 1 Paradise, and that's just the engine. Like, that's fairly standard. I'm pretty sure, like, it's the same goddamn engine as every other Fiendsmith Primite deck out there. It's nothing special there. It's mainly the hand trap lineup that's, I think, puts this deck that gives this deck an advantage in this format. So speaking of hand traps, you know, 3 Valor, 3 Imperm, 3 Ash, 2 Maxi, Gamma, Dominus, Purge, and then Nibiru. All of these 18 hand traps, you draw 2 combinations of 2 usable hand traps together. That gives you a good chance in order to stop Maliss and Ryzeal, even without, like, playing the floodgate hand traps. You know, stuff like Mulch Armies and, you know, Droll and Lancea and stuff like that. So speaking of them, Maltrami's Fool Loss, this card is actually not that good. Like, this is the worst hand trap in this deck. So, like, first of all, you know, dead going first, this deck has no way to make use of Fool Loss going first. It's terrible when you draw it, it's just a dead card going first. And going second, it's not even that good, because when you Fool Loss your opponent, it makes them not play into Nibiru. So, like, Fool Loss, like, conflicts with Nibiru, which is, like, it's really... That's some weird anti-synergy right there. Like, I would rather, if my opponent, if I have Nibiru and like Fool Loss, I almost want to not Fool Loss my Ryzeal opponent, because if I don't Fool Loss my Ryzeal opponent, they're more likely to play into Nibiru. If I do Fool Loss them, then there's gonna Detonator Pass, and Detonator Pass is like harder to deal with than Nibiru than just Nibiruing their field. You know, unless you like have an in-perm as well, like you're nice like that. But yeah, I really don't like this card. I honestly put this in here as a cross-out target. I never once cross-outed Fool Loss in a situation where it actually mattered. So like this should probably be like literally any other hand trap. Like, I don't know, maybe a Mourner, maybe like a Ogre, like anything besides Fool Loss. Like I really do not like this card in this format. It's also not even that great versus Maliss. Like, Fool Loss by itself, it's also unlike Max C, Fool Loss does not do enough versus Maliss, because they can just, you know, they can Chessie draw, they can pot agree, they can do all that setup, set up a red ransom plus a mirror quick play negate, all under 2 Fool Loss draws. Like, that's really not good. Even when you draw Fool Loss, you still have to draw Fool Loss with something like an Imperm or a Veiler, ideally in order to stop the Chessie Cat or like stop the red ransom, so that they don't get too much advantage even under the Fool Loss. And yeah, speaking of like other hand traps I'm not running, so number one, probably you're thinking is like Lancea. So like the main reason I'm not running Lancea is because I want to draw hand traps that are good, that are useful versus both Ryzeal and Maliss. Okay, I don't want to draw hand traps that are only good really in one matchup, not the other, because then that's how you that's how you lose. Because the idea of this deck is you want to draw 2 useful hand traps in order to, you know, stop your opponent. If you run hand traps that are only good against one matchup, it makes it way harder to actually draw 2 hand traps versus that opponent, versus those decks. For example, if I'm playing triple Lancea and I play against Ryzeal and I draw Lancea as one of the hand traps, that doesn't do jack shit. I'm gonna have to draw 2 more hand traps, so I'm gonna have to draw like 3 hand traps, including the Lancea, in order to actually stop them, which is that's asking for a lot. And also, like, by that similar logic, you know, Droll is like one of the hand traps that can potentially stop Ryzeal by itself, but obviously against Maliss, it's not good at all. You know, Maliss will self-roll itself. Like, you know, Maliss already rolls itself as a way to play through Maxi and Fool Loss. Like, you know, that's how that shows you how good Droll is versus the Maliss matchups. Like, I don't want to draw, you know, I don't want to draw Droll versus Maliss, and I don't want to draw Lancea versus Ryzeal. Like, that's how you lose a lot of games in those matchups too. So like, yeah, that being said, you know, if you want to, this Fool Loss is also could just be a Lancea as a random one-up or a random roll, because honestly, it probably would have done more than fucking Fool Loss did, because Fool Loss was like, this was like consistently the worst hand trap in my deck every time I drew it. But yeah, anyways, and then like call by and cross out, like obviously, you know, negate the maxi, so that overall this deck has 15 starters and 19 hand traps. So 19 hand traps, that's, you know, that's just really the amount of hand traps that you want to be that's like the fact that you need like around 18-19 hand traps to be comfortable with this format, just so that you can potentially draw 2 useful hand traps. You know, that just goes to show what kind of format we're in right now. Such a good format, right guys? But yeah, anyways, the extra deck is actually really tight. I'm not, there's like maybe 1 flex spot. So 1, you know, Lacrima, 1 Necrocrypt, 2 Desiree. Yes, you absolutely need Desiree, because you're going to end on Desiree a lot in this deck, especially since you don't play Caesar anymore. Desiree is just like a better Lars, so if you can make Desiree without giving up your Lacrima to send Paradise on your opponent's turn, then you want to make Lacrima over Lars. But if you do that, then you need the second Lacrima in your extra deck in order to actually use with the Paradise. So like, yeah, absolutely, you need 2 Desiree to play this build. I've used 2 Desiree you know, a shit ton of my games. Like, it's unbelievable. Like, the second Desiree is like not even like the least used card in my extra deck. It's like one of the more used cards in my extra deck. It's like more used than like half my extra deck, the second Desiree. So yeah, definitely comes up in this build. Chaos Angel, insane versus the Ryzeal matchup. Absolutely mandatory to run this format. M7, so like M7 is probably a flex spot. Like, I'm gonna be honest, the thing I use M7 the most for is literally just to add Engraver back to my hand while I have a Necro Crypt on the field, just so I can get an extra draw. Like, that's what I use M7 the most for. Like, just to get another draw, which is probably not the, you know, it's maybe not the most crucial use of an extra deck spot. At the same time, I use M7 a lot because whenever you have like 2-card combos, for example, if you have like access to Roar and Fiendsmith Engine, then the Roar can just summon out the Driver, which is nice because then the Roar actually has an effect in Grave. It can actually manage your opponent's monster because Driver has real attack. And the Driver being a level 6 monster means that Driver can then make an M7 to add the Engraver back to your hand, and then you can pitch Engraver with a Necro Crypt on the field, and you can draw a card for free and fill up your grave with an extra Life Fiend. Like, that's actually that's a play that comes up quite often. And M7, it's also just removal. It doesn't conflict with Purge as well. So like, unlike some other extra deck options, so like if you Purge your opponent, for example, and like you can't Typhon them and you can't, you know, SP because, you know, for obvious reasons, then you still have the M7 as a removal option too, a non-destruction removal option. But yeah, Lars, as I mentioned, you know, Lars is very good because it can't be targeted by monster effects, which means that it doesn't lose the X Ryzeal, and X Ryzeal is an aggregator. Also, keep in mind that unlike Caesar, Lars just needs 2 level 6 monsters. It doesn't need 2 level 6 fiends, which means that there's quite a number of times where it actually made Lars using Cypher and Driver. Like, they hand-trapped my effort barrel so that I didn't get access to Drill Beam, and then I would just summon the Driver out with Lordy Load and then overlay it with like a random level 6 monster left over, and then I would just make a Lars out of that, which is like something you couldn't do with Caesar because you can't make Caesar with Driver, but you can make Lars with Driver. So that's something to think about. Typhon, again, Typhon, absolutely incredible this format because of, you know, this is one of the most reliable ways to get rid of Detonator. You know, just make this, they can't activate Detonator, and then you can just bounce it. So like, you can this is how you win a lot of grinding games versus Ryzeal. If you don't have Nibiru, if you don't Nibiru them, you know, Typhon is, you know, very good in that matchup. Double Requiem, yes, you actually want double Requiem, mainly because if one gets ashed, you can just Requiem again. Like, oftentimes if you're only playing one Requiem and your Requiem gets ashed, you actually don't have access to your Fiendsmith Engine very easily afterwards unless you hard draw a Fiendsmith card, which we're not playing triple Lacrima, so like you're actually not guaranteed to like draw another Fiendsmith Engine after your Requiem gets ashed one time, so the second one comes up. And also, like, you can, oftentimes you would just Lordy Load, summon out Dippity, make Requiem, and then use Requiem on your opponent's turn to summon out the Lacrima that way. So yeah, two Requiem comes up a lot. IP, SP, Moon, Sequence, and Agnum, these are all obvious. The IP Masquerena, so IP Masquerena is also probably a flex slot along with M7. If you want to play Caesar, you could probably put in this slot. I actually like IP. I don't see a lot of people running this in Fiendsmith Control decks, but the main ways you make IP is like basically if you have both Primite Engine plus Fiendsmith Engine. For example, let's say you have Effort Barrel plus Engraver, and you have another random, you know, either another random Primite card like on the second Lordy Load, or like a vanilla in hand like a Dippity or a Cypher Driver, then you don't need to keep a vanilla on field to make your Drill Beam live because you already have the vanilla in hand. So in those cases, you can actually just at the end of your turn, use Lordy Load, summon out a vanilla, and because you don't need to keep it on the field, you can actually just link the vanilla plus Effort Barrel into a IP Masquerena because your Drill Beam is already live because you have the extra Primite card or the extra vanilla in hand already. So the IP Masquerena just gets you another free interruption, a free 2 interruptions, honestly. Like, IP into SP, and SP is actually a pretty decent interruption just by itself anyways. And also the other scenario where you would do that is obviously like you lead with Effort Barrel, you lead with Primite Lordy Load, and they in-perm your Effort Barrel, so that way you also don't get access to Drill Beam anyways, in which case then you can still do the same thing and then just make an IP Masquerena on your endboard so that you can make up for the lack of Drill Beam with the extra IP interruption. And this is also fine into X Ryzeal, X Set Activator as well, because you're usually going to have a Lars in the field too. So worst case scenario is if they lead with X Ryzeal, Send Aggregator, target IP Masquerena, you can just, you know, Lars negate their X Ryzeal, and then chain IP, and then IP, you know, dodge their aggregator, and then make an SP, and then banish their X, which, you know, might sound like a bit wasteful because you're using 2 interruptions on their 1 X, but it's fine because you negate their search with X. You also get rid of the level 4 body. And then you have an SP on the field, and you also have access to your Fiendsmith Engraver or the Fiendsmith and Paradise Engrave as well. So SP plus a Paradise Engrave after you already got rid of their X search and after you already gone through X is actually still hard for your opponent to deal with. Like it's just another free interruption that you wouldn't have had normally anyway. So yeah, the IP has come up quite a few times too. But yeah, that's this deck. So enough just talking in theory about this deck. Let's see this deck in action, this format with the replays. Also, a funny interaction I forgot to mention involving Lars and X Ryzeal sending aggregator is that if you don't have an Lorelito on the field, if you don't have any other face-up cards and you don't have Primate Engine, and all you just have is a Lars face-up on the field, and your opponent goes X Ryzeal send aggregator, and they don't read the first sentence of Lars, and they just go autopilot chainlink 1 X Ryzeal chainlink 2 aggregator, guess what? Because they can't target the Lars, they have to negate their own X Ryzeal with aggregator. That has happened several times during when I was playing this deck. My opponent has negated their own X Ryzeal with aggregator more than once because they simply do not read literally the first sentence of Lars's card text, and then they're forced to target their own Ryzeal because the X Ryzeal, because that's the only face-up card that they can target. So that's hilarious. Imagine negating your own X Ryzeal with aggregator. But yeah, you won't see it on the replay because I want to show real replays, not just clowning my opponent. But yeah, that is something that will happen when you play this deck, which is very funny. So this is an example of the biggest combo this deck can do. Now, this deck, you usually don't get the full combo because usually your opponent has Handtraps, and this isn't really a combo deck to begin with. This is a one-card combo deck. You have to draw somewhat specific cards in order to, actually do more than just a standard Fiendsmith line. But yeah, this is just to show what you can do if you open, for example, a 2-card combo with a Light Fiend and a Primite Roar, for example. So here, we're gonna normal summon Dibity to go into Requiem. Dibity, it's still full Fiendsmith combo, and on the Requiem, we're actually gonna chain Primite Roar, which is nice because Primite Roar will now get you a driver on the field. So this does two things. Number one, the fact that it gets driver means that now the Primate Roar actually has an effect. It can actually banish something, whereas if all we had was Dibity in the graveyard, the Primate Roar would not be able to banish a goddamn thing with its effect, so it would be kind of useless in grave. But now if we can get driver out, the Primate Roar does something, and driver is also a level 6 monster, so that's relevant. So for this line, we're going to equip Requiem to the Lacrima, make a Necroquip, then revive Engraver. And this is just the greedy line. So Engraver summons, and then we're going to overlay Engraver plus Driver into M7. That way we can use M7, and M7 will add the Engraver back to hand, and we get Imperm, and then I activate Crossout because Crossout is just a fair card because, why wouldn't I be able to negate my opponent's only interaction when they go second, right? Clearly this is this is a fair interaction right here, crossing out my opponent's only hand trap. But yeah, anyways, add Engraver to hand, and now we're going to activate Engraver, so that's going to add a track to hand, and then it's going to trigger Necroquip Princess draw, so we get a free draw with this line as well. Anytime you open a Light Fiend plus Roar getting driver out lets you do the lines for M7 to add the Engraver back to your hand, so which you can get an extra draw just for free. And then Engraver, we draw a second Engraver, which might look unfortunate because what the hell are we going to do with another Engraver when we already used both its effects? Well, watch. So we're going to track, add Lurie, pitch Lurie, and then Lurie is going to special summon himself, and here Tract has a grave effect, so because we drew the extra Engraver, it's not useless. It gives us a second Light Fiend that we can actually fuse using Tract without even going to sequence first. So now we can go Lacrima, and the Lacrima can revive the Engraver, and now we have an extra level 6 body on the field. So the M7 plus the Engraver is going to go into sequence. Sequence is just going to make a Desiree. At this point, I don't think my opponent has Nibiru because they definitely would have Nibiru when I had five level 6 Fiends on the board to threaten Caesar. If they didn't Nibiru then they probably would not. Or they would. There was no reason to wait for Nibiru when I had the threat of Caesar, even though I don't run it, but they don't know that. But anyways, we're gonna go Agnum Day into Desiree, and then these two go into Lars because again, at this point, I know they don't have Nibiru, and this is the biggest end board, and it's not even that much. usually you either make Desiree or Lars. You don't get to make both. In this line, we got to make both, but like it's not that crazy. Like it's just one extra Omni Negate. It's like whatever, right? Like this could be a Drill Beam and it would almost be the same thing. But yeah, because we drew extra bodies, we can actually make a Desiree plus a Lars out of this hand. So it's cool. But watch what my opponent does. So my opponent's gonna normal summon Ice Ryzeal. I'm going to chain Roar and Grave just to banish it because it's free, and like I'm not going to be able to use Roar and anything else. I'm going to chain Droplet and this, and I got absolutely owned off this Droplet. Like this Droplet destroyed me. It's like it destroyed my combo because now they're going to Droplet, send 2, including a Lancea, which does nothing in this matchup, and they're going to negate both my monsters, and then Primite Roar is going to force me to banish my own Lars because now they no control no monsters. So yeah, I just my entire full combo Endboard just got dismantled by a Droplet. So like, whoopsie. But yeah, I mean, obviously this deck's Endboard is not just the 2 Omni Negates in the field. Like obviously there's way more interaction this deck has. So like a Droplet doesn't matter. It's just very funny that the one time I got to do my full combo, it didn't even matter. Like I might like the fact that I full combo made my board even more vulnerable to Droplet in the first place, which is very funny. But yeah, anyways, the interaction I'm talking about is you know, Lacrima summoning back Requiem, then Requiem will summon back the Lacrima. Lacrima will then Paradise, and this is really broken because I drew Purge. Now this sets up, obviously this sets up Paradise and Graveyard to send my opponent's Vigil Summons, the Paradise already, as I mentioned, already kind of solos most things that Ryzeal wants to do. But now that this is also trapped in the graveyard, it sets up Dominus Purge to pop a monster. So case in point, my opponent summons Sword Ryzeal, and now I'm going to use Dominus Purge. And now Dominus Purge not only negates the Sword Ryzeal, but it gets the level 4 body off the field. So like, that's nice. It just pops it as well because we sent the Paradise. And my opponent hard drew Cross. Too bad they couldn't be able to make. Too bad they couldn't make a rank 4 Xyz. Anyway, they're going to special summon Ice Ryzeal off the draw, which you know, we're just going to send Desiree. This is why you run 2 Desiree. Yeah, so the Desiree is going to send one of their level 4 monsters, and they could not establish an Xyz monster, but. Yeah, you make the 2 Desirees because you absolutely do need the 2 Desiree in order to play this deck. So, yeah, but yeah, if you make a Desiree turn 1, then you need the second one to send for Paradise. But yeah, that's an example of maybe you just shouldn't even go for full combo with this deck. It's like not even that good, to be honest, as you saw. Alright, so this is a game where we're going first versus Maliss, and oh my god, look at this hand. This hand is incredibly ass. We opened both Vanillas plus the Fool Lots going first. Now, it's not the worst because at least Dippity, you can normal summon it. It's not a Blue Eyes White Dragon. It's not that bad. But you still, no Primite cards inside. Like, you definitely don't want to draw these 3 cards going first. Like that is not good, like, or at all, to be honest. So yeah, I'm gonna normal summon Dippity, and you know, Dippity go into Requiem and hope the Requiem resolves. Thankfully the Requiem does resolve, so we're gonna go into Lacrima. Lacrima is gonna dump Engraver, and here I'm gonna go Requiem, target the Lacrima, going to Requiem, going to Princess, summon out Engraver. I do this, I summon the Engraver and put back the Dippity before I activate the Engraver in my hand, because this is the 5th summon, so if they have Nibiru at this point, they would Nibiru me because they're afraid of Caesar. So if they Nibiru me here, then my Engraver I would dump Engraver, and I would Engraver at Tract. If they don't Nibiru me here, however, that means they probably don't have Nibiru. So in this case, I'm going to Engraver, and it changes my ad. So because they didn't Nibiru me, and I suspect that they probably don't have Imperm because I didn't feel any toggles, so I'm going to add the Paradise to my hand now, because they didn't have the Bureau. So now I add the Paradise because we were going to be hard making Desiree this turn. So then I draw off Necrocrypt, and I draw the like, holy shit, man. I know it looks stupid. I know it looks stupid that I put back the Dippity, then I end up drawing the Dippity off Necrocrypt. But like, trust me, there was a reason why I did that. There's a reason why I put back the Dippity before I drew. Like, there's a method to the madness. It wasn't just me like getting like super unlucky and like misplaying and like putting back the Dippity before I drew. Okay, there was a reason I did that. That was just me explaining that. But yeah, now the sequence, we're gonna make sequence, and thankfully they don't have the Imperm, so that we can still make the Desiree. So we're gonna go Desiree into Item Day, summon back to Desiree, and then equip the sequence to the Desiree. And I'm gonna set Paradise, and I'm gonna set Imperm. So believe it or not, this hand, like, yeah, this hand does suck. Like, I have 3 cards in hand, not a single useful hand trap in my hand right now. But believe it or not, this is still good enough to beat Maliss, because Fiendsmith and Paradise plus Desiree is just a very hard interaction for any deck to play into. So Yeah, they have 6 cards in hand, full Malice engine, and they're gonna activate Malice in Underground, and I just let that go. You know, banish White Rabbit, summon the White Rabbit, and on the White Rabbit summon, I'm actually gonna inform the White Rabbit because I don't want to deal with them dodging my Desiree and shit like that. So like I'm just gonna inform that, you know, force them to commit more cards, and they're gonna go into Linkaribo. Linkaribo to check the Fiends in Paradise, like in theory. However, the problem is that Desiree can just negate the Linkaribo, so like this Linkaribo like just wash. They're gonna normal summon Chessy Cat, activate Chessy Cat effect, and I'm just gonna Desiree, and I can just negate literally every. I negate their Linkaribo and negate their field spell and negate their Chessy Cat. So yeah, the Linkaribo did nothing. They might as well have just made a Link Decoder, honestly. And they're gonna Haggard ban Chessy Cat, special summon the Chessy Cat, and here I'm going to use Fiendsmith in Paradise and clear the board. So and like keep in mind, I still have one more interruption after all that. After a board wipe, I can still have the Fiendsmith in Paradise. If they have more extension, I can Fiendsmith in Paradise, send the second Desiree from my extra deck, put back my sequence, and then send another card. So I still have one more interruption after that. Even this goddamn terrible hand with like 3 dead cards in hand, essentially, still managed to amount to like 4 interruptions, including a board wipe. So that, and they don't even have any more interruption after that. So instead, I'm just gonna go Lacrima, end phase, summon out Agnum Day, and like the easy, you know, simple strategy at this point is to just equip sequence to the Desiree and just make Desiree live. But like I hard drew a Lordy Low, so I just wanted to swag on my phone a little bit. So I'm actually gonna link the Desiree into a sequence, into a Requiem, and then trigger the Requiem, the Desiree, put back the sequence to send one of my opponent's cards. They're gonna get Malice in the Mirror, and then I'm gonna chain Agnum Day, try to dodge the Malice in the Mirror, and then they're gonna call by the grave my Desiree. So you know, unfortunately, their 2 back row did deal with my 2 monsters on board, but like I mean, it's not really a big deal. Like they Malice in the Mirror banished Dormouse, like that's not, like, who cares, right? Dormouse summoned himself back, and they don't even like. I already have a Requiem on board to like summon Lacrima and do my fiends and stuff. They don't even know I drew a Lordy though. Like the summoning back to Dormouse did not do them any good. But yeah, that's example of a board that you would make when you open a heavy Fiendsmith engine. Like you make a Desiree with a Fiendsmith in Paradise added to your hand as a board wipe. So then you get to use both Fiendsmith in Paradise effect, which is very powerful. So this game we're going second, and this is more to show what your game plan should be, hand trapping your Ryzeal opponent when you go second and when you open Nibiru, for example. So for example, we open Nibiru plus Imperm. If you open Nibiru plus Imperm, you do not touch any of their level 4 monsters. Do not Imperm a goddamn thing. Do not Imperm X, do not Imperm Sword, do not Imperm Ice Ryzeal, do not Imperm any of that. You should be reserving Imperm for one monster and one monster only, and that's Star Ryzeal, because Star Ryzeal is going to place Ryzeal Cross. And if you negate Ryzeal, their Star Ryzeal plating with Ryzeal Cross, then the Nibiru will check the rest of their field. In fact, you don't want to. You want them to summon more because you want them to play into Nibiru even harder if they can. But yeah. So anyways, they're gonna summon X. I'm gonna leave that alone. Do not Ash it. Do not Imperm it. They're gonna special Sword again. Leave that alone. Do not touch it. Add another X to hand, and they're gonna normal summon Ice and Ice summon Sword. So this is a bit weird because normally this line would be Ice summon out Star Ryzeal, and then Star Ryzeal plays Ryzeal Cross as the 4th summon. Then they're gonna activate Cross. Then they make Dual Drive as the 5th summon. So they don't do that because they hard drew the Star Ryzeal. Like spoilers, that's why they didn't summon the Star Ryzeal off the ice. So instead they just made Dual Drive as the 5th summon anyway. So like I technically didn't need this Imperm because I already had the Nibiru to out the Dual Drive anyways. Because they hard drew the Star Ryzeal, so like they couldn't play around Nibiru with that line anyways. But yeah, they do go Dual Drive, and theoretically if they even summon Star off the ice like they were supposed to, we still have the Imperm for the Star Ryzeal, so they would never get access to Cross. That this Nibiru would still be live. But yeah, then they're gonna summon a Star Ryzeal from hand, and then I'm gonna Imperm the Star Ryzeal, obviously, because like I still don't want them having access to Cross, even though even though the Nibiru is gonna be live anyways. And then yeah, they're gonna go Ryzeal Dual Drive, and then you Nibiru them, and then that's their whole field gone. So yeah, that's they summon Node, send a card for Sword Ryzeal, make a detonator, and then that's it. That's their end board. If you hold Imperm plus Nib for basically just at that point, and then you nib their field, the most they can end on is just a detonator. That is it. And the detonator also, just loses the Typhon anyways, because we already have a Nibiru on board. They summon multiple times, and we can just make a Typhon. And then so it passes back to me. I draw another Nibiru, nice. Go into Typhon, bounce the Ryzeal detonator, and then I'm gonna Lordy Load, add Drill Beam, and then we can just win the grind game from this point forward. They have no follow up. They don't have access to cross, which means that they can't draw. They can't recycle their monsters. Notice both their X's are gone. They also can't draw a card every turn. And we have the rest of our engine, and we have more cards than our opponent. So I can leave this Nibiru token on the field. I don't really care. Feel free to run over my Typhon anyways. They're gonna normal summon Ice Ryzeal, which I'm gonna Ash the Ice Ryzeal. They're gonna call by the Ash, which whatever. Then I'm gonna Drill Beam, Reveal, Roar, and then I'm gonna banish the Ice Ryzeal anyway. So the Drill Beam just handles it. And now they have Nibiru token and a Dream. And they actually do the right thing, because I revealed that I have Primite Roar in hand. So like if they switched the Nibiru token to attack over Typhon, that would have just made my Roar life. They would have just instantly lost my spot. Does not matter, because again they have one token and I have 5 cards, and I top deck Attract anyways. So Attract, add Lurie, and my opponent just it's over for my friend Keto there. Right, so this is a game where we won the coin flip and we're going first, and this hand is okay. So this hand is it's both good and bad. It has the Primite engine and it has Fiendsmith engine. Unfortunately, the Fiendsmith engine it drew is the Lurie and the Deputy, so 2 normal summons. So also I get Max Seed, so like that is not good. So I'm gonna activate Primite Lordy Load, and I get Ashed. I'm like, calm down, dude, calm down. At this point, I'm under Max Seed already, so I'm debating. I could give them 1 draw, go into Requiem, and then Requiem summon Lacrimus and Perez in their turn. I'm thinking I might as well, what? They use their Ash. They don't have this out the Maxi. I'm just going to bank it all on this Maxi. I'm just going to pass, because this Deputy and Lurie is really not helping my case right now. But yeah, they're going to go Ice Ryzeal, and I'm going to Baylor first to bail out for Called By. And they have the Called By, so cool. Number 1, that tells me they probably don't have another extender in their hand, so that's good information, because they have to Called By the Valor, and then we get to Maxi them too. So that's nice. I get to draw off Maxi. Surely I will draw into a hand that can deal with a detonator that they're gonna make. Like surely, right? They're gonna summon sword, add X, and they're going for it. They summon X. They don't even just pass on detonator. They make an X. They summon X first for some reason to give me an extra draw to send the aggregator for negate my Lordy Load. Everyone hates my Lordy Load. That's the only thing they can really target on my board at all times. But then they're gonna activate Cross. Of course, they hard drew Cross. By the way, I was like, if they didn't hard draw Cross, I would have had this game would have been done. This would have been over. But the fact that they always hard draw Cross, this is the most aggravating thing in the entire world. My entire Handtrap lineup is built to stop my opponent from searching Cross, and when they hard draw it, that's just like a kick in the balls. I'm like, my entire game plan was that you wouldn't have this card, but fuck, fuck me, I guess. So anyways, they're gonna battle phase, do some damage, and then main phase 2, they're gonna make a 3 material detonator. Actually, 4 material detonator, because it's gonna attach. And I draw into a Ash Blossom. And unfortunately, this hand right now, because they top deck the Cross, does not deal with this board very well. So I'm gonna have to do bait. So first, I activate Lordy Load. I activate Lordy Load because I know that they're probably not going to detonator pop the Lordy Load, because I drew 4 cards off the max. I drew 3 cards off the maxi plus my draw for turn, so I had 4 new cards in hand. So there's a high chance I have an imperm in my hand. If I activate Lordy Load and they go detonator pop Lordy Load, that just plays into imperm. That's not a good play at all. So they probably the correct play is to not pop this Lordy Load right now, because in case I top deck into an imperm. So they let that go, and I summon out Driver, and then I normal summon Deputy, and this is the this is just the Chaos Angel and Praise. So we're gonna make a Chaos Angel. I can't even use this effect because I used Lordy Load, but I'm just gonna attack, and now Now it's basically the onus is on them to out this fucking Chaos Angel. You know, do your worst. Out this Chaos Angel, okay, without drawing Imperm. Because they don't have Imperm. They would have said it if they did. So I feel pretty safe right now. They're going to normal summon. Unfortunately they have a Star Ryzeal in their hand for some reason. So like they're gonna special summon Star Ryzeal, and I have to negate the Star Ryzeal. Okay, it's very annoying because I cannot Purge Star Ryzeal because Star Ryzeal sets. So my opponent makes the biggest mistake in their entire life in this, or their biggest mistake all game in this interaction. So I'm going to Effect Veiler, target Star Ryzeal. They're going to Chain Detonator, target my back row, which is to be expected. You know, it takes a free pop, so I'm gonna call back the grave, target X Ryzeal, and then they're going to Chain Detonator. They click the yellow button. That was the worst mistake of the entire game, because now Detonator has 0 materials. Because this Detonator has 0 materials, the Ryzeal Cross cannot negate my Veiler. And because my Veiler now resolves, it means their Star Ryzeal gets negated, which means that they can't set Plasma Hole. And Plasma Hole was their one in-engine out to my Chaos Angel. So Chain resolves, their Detonator, they get the Primite Lordly Load and my Call by Grave, which is fine, you know, whatever. That was like honestly bait anyways, and then the Star Ryzeal gets negated, and now they don't have access to Plasma Hole, so they still can't out the Chaos Angel. So they're gonna special node Ryzeal and send their own aggregator, and then they're going to summon back the Sword. Go all 3 into Dual Drive, and here they're gonna use Dual Drive, and Dual Drive is just small enough to where it can't attack over the Chaos Angel still. It's by 200 points, Chaos Angel is still bigger than the Dual Drive. And here, I was not happy about doing this, but I have to use Purge on the Dual Drive, because they haven't used Cross Set this turn, so I have to use Purge to negate the Dual Drive. By stopping both Star Ryzeal and Dual Drive, they don't have access to Plasma Hole, so they still don't have the Alpha Chaos Angel. Unfortunately for me, I have 2 dead cards in hand now. I have Ash, which can no longer be used because I used fucking Dominus Purge. So that sucks. You don't want to use Purge before Ash, but I really didn't have a choice there. So yeah, and then I top deck a Fool Loss, of course. You know, again, worst hand trap in the entire deck, also dead. So I have a Chaos Angel and a Dream. So I'm gonna attack over the Ryzeal Dual Drive first to get the Exceed material off the field so that they can't Ryzeal Cross. And I'm gonna go to Requiem, and then Requiem gets called by the grave. So yeah, that's nice. I'm still dead to like any resolved Star Ryzeal or any resolved Dual Drive. They do get that free draw off Ryzeal Cross. I cannot Ash that because of fucking Purge restrictions, and fortunately they don't top deck into any Ryzeal monsters, thank God. And I top deck into Tract. And now I'm gonna use Tract into Lacrima, and I add Lacrima because Lurie is engraved, and honestly, I don't care about either of these cards. I fucking pitch Ash Blossom because I can't fucking use it anyways, and then I'm gonna go Lacrima, send Engraver summon itself back, and I don't even need to go through. I don't even need to play into Ash. Like if they wanted to wait for Ash for my Requiem, this is already game on board because I can just go Tract Engrave effect, summon out Fusion Lacrima, then Lacrima, summon back Engraver, and then this is game. So yeah, no need to play into a second Call by the Grave or a second Ash Blossom. But yeah, that was more so 1 Chaos Angel holding it down, and 2 my opponent misplaying. So like they still should have won that game, despite me drawing 3 cards off fucking Maxi and having a Chaos Angel established. They still should have won that. But yeah, that's just Yu-Gi-Oh sometimes. Okay, so this was actually probably the best game I've played with this deck this month. And you know, surprise, it's not Ryzeal or Maliss. It's the mirror match. It's the Fiendsmith Control mirror match, which, you know, 2 grinding ass decks without a lot of overwhelming power. You know, you actually do get some good games with these 2 decks. But anyways, specifically my Maxi got negated. That's why this game is a good game, because neither of us got Maxied. So you know, we're just having some good honest Yu-Gi-Oh. And when they're gonna go Requiem into Lacrima, like you guys know the Fiendsmith combo by now, but they Tract add Lurie. I could have purged that, because there's honestly in the Fiendsmith mirror match, there's not a lot of good stuff to purge. Like that's the one thing about Purge, is that it's not that going to mirror match. But you know, I'm not building this deck for the mirror match, so like that's why I play in Purge. But yeah, that was pretty much like my only thing to purge this entire game, believe it or not. And then they're gonna go into Lacrima. Add the Engraver back to their hand, and like this is a very convoluted line dream, but they're going to equip the Requiem to the Lacrima now, so that they can make a Necrotrip Princess, so that now they can use their Engraver and get a draw with the Necrotrip, which is nice. But they added Fiendsmith Paradise, This is, and then they get a draw off Necrocrypt. This is very greedy because He's in Paradise. This only works if you have it just pretty much only works if you have like a Desiree on the field. So if I can stop them from making Desiree, it means it's really bad for them because it means they have a dead card basically, because the Fiends in Paradise cannot be used on the field unless they have a level 7 or higher Light Fiend monster. And it also means that unless they run 2 Paradise, which you would have to be Mental Asylum to run 2 Paradise in Fiendsmith Control. But yeah, if they don't run 2 Paradise, that means they also don't have access to the Paradise effect Engraved Descent, so that they're down an extra interaction. So I toggled off trying to hide my Infirm so that they would go for this line potentially, so that they wouldn't see the Infirm coming, so that this Infirm can still deny them their access to Desiree. But they're gonna summon back Engraver, they're gonna make Sequence, and here we Infirm the Sequence so that they can't make Desiree. And now it's great because now their Fiendsmith in Paradise is just dead now. So they have 3 dead. They have 1 dead card in hand, and they can normal summon, I guess, the second Lacrima, and then they're gonna go. Look at this Endboard, by the way. Sequence Agnamde equipped to Lacrima. This is the this is all real Fiendsmith Control hours here. Just literally having an on-field Lacrima with the Lacrima engraved with 2 equips onto it. So yeah, anyway, pass to my turn. I have an advantage in this game because I drew the Primite card, so I'm going to go Lori Load, and I actually just add the Drill Beam because unfortunately I also drew the Lacrima, and if I added Effort Barrel, I could only normal summon either Lacrima or Effort Barrel. I couldn't summon both, so instead I just add the Drill Beam directly, which doesn't give me the Effort Barrel follow-up, which does buy me a little bit, but I have to normal summon the Lacrima anyway to get access to the Fiendsmith Vengeance, so yeah, I'm gonna normal summon Lacrima. I know that their set card is probably like a Paradise or something. Like, I'm not really scared of much besides random non-engine, and they probably don't have Ash anymore because they used Ash on my Max E, so I don't have to worry about my Requiem getting Ashed. And here I'm gonna go Necroquip, Classic, and then summon back Engraver. And then here they're just gonna Nibiru you because they fear Caesar at this point. Little do they know, I don't even play Caesar, so get baited, my friend. But yeah, that's also why, as I mentioned before, Caesar's kind of fakes are playing around Nibiru, because if they had Nibiru, I would never be able to make Caesar in the first place. So it doesn't matter that I don't have Caesar in my extra deck. They're just going to play around it anyways, because, what kind of Fiendsmith Control deck doesn't run Caesar, right? But yeah, they're going to Nibiru the field, which is fine by me, because, like, honestly, I get the big token. I'm going to use Lordy Load, summon out Dippity, then set Purge, and then set Drill Beam. So I have access to Drill Beam plus Effect Failure, and I have access to Paradise on my opponent's turn. So I still have 3 real interruptions plus Purge, but like, I don't, at this point the ship has stalled on Purge. I don't think Purge is going to do anything useful for the rest of this game, so it's kind of just really a bluff. But yeah, my opponent, meanwhile, just only has their access to, their Lacrima follow-up plus like Engraver, and then like 2 random cards in hand. So to see how they play this out, they're going to first summon out Engraver, and then I'm also going to just summon on my Lacrima because I want to get my Fiendsmith in Paradise engraved as quickly as possible. So Requiem, Lacrima, and Paradise, they're going to equip to the Engraver, and here I just Drill Beam this because they're going to use this to target my Dippity to get rid of it, so that way it makes my Drill Beam dead. So it does force out the Drill Beam, so I'm just going to Drill Beam banish the Engraver anyways, and I'll take that trade because they already used the Engraver. Then they're going to normal summon their own Dippity, go into Requiem, and they're going to go Requiem into another Lacrima. So Lacrima again, send Engraver, and here they're going to enter battle phase, attack over Dippity, and then attack over my Lacrima, and then they're going to use Agnamde. Agnamde is going to summon the Engraver, and here I actually used Fiends in Paradise, which you might be thinking, why would you do this? Like, this can't even run over the Nibiru token. Well, first of all, Engraver has not used its effect yet. I Drill Beamed preemptively before I used its effect, so it can actually the Engraver can just send my token anyways. And number 2, Chaos Angel, Engraver plays Lacrima as Chaos Angel, and Chaos Angel is like really bad news in this game state because I don't have an out to Chaos Angel right now if they do make it. So I actually just use my Paradise right now, send the Desirees to get rid of the Engraver. That way they can't out my Nib token with just the Engraver, and they can't make Chaos Angel. And instead they're gonna go into Sequence, and then Sequence gets hit by the Veiler, so that's nice. Again, keeping them off Desiree because they search Paradise turn 1. You gotta keep them off Desiree so that the Paradise continues to be a dead card for them. And then they're just gonna go Typhon, and Typhon's gonna out my Nib token, but that's fine. You know, that's all they have. All they have is like, they still don't have access to a live paradise, and their graveyard follow-up does not provide any more interruption. So, meanwhile, I draw into Dibbity again. That's like crazy work. I literally just put the Dibbity, I shuffled the Dibbity back, and then I just drew the Dibbity again. That's insane. But anyways, that's actually not a bad draw anyways, because first I'm gonna go Engraver, you know, summon himself back. Normal summon Dibbity into Requiem. I still don't really fear Ash, because they would have Ashed my Paradise probably if they had it. So yeah, now I'm gonna equip Requiem to Engraver, send the Typhon, and then I'm gonna go into see my own sequence, and my sequence resolves. So when my sequence resolves, you know, that's when it's, you know, the game's in your favor. I can't OTK them because they have the Lacrima stuff engraved, so like they can just summon, you know, random bodies. Like if I was going for an OTK, I would have made Lacrima instead of Desiree, but I know I can't OTK them through their Lacrima something back their Agnumde. So like I'm just gonna, you know, just make the Desiree and just control the field from this point. So I'm gonna go into Agnumde, and do not use Desiree's effect in this scenario, because that set I'm still reading as the Fiendsmith in Paradise. I do not want to send the Fiendsmith in Paradise to grave for them, so I'm just not gonna use Desiree's effect here. I'm just gonna attack, and then I'm gonna Agnumde summon back to Desiree, and then, you know, they're free to chum block if they want to, but you know they want to save their resources, so I'm just going to equip sequence, and their end phase are going to summon back the Agnumde. So, you know, we're just, you know, Fiendsmith control stuff, and their turn, now they have to out this Desiree that can't be targeted. So like there's very few outs of this, especially if they don't have access to their own Desiree, which, you know, now I have a Desiree out, I can negate their sequence once again. So their sequence is still not going to resolve this turn, because if they ever go for it, I just have the Desiree to check it. So instead, they're going to equip the sequence to the Engraver, and then they're going to equip the Requiem to the Engraver. And now, like, this is, you ever seen a 6k attack Engraver, by the way? This is their out to try and out the Desiree, because they also use their Typhon. Typhon would have been a decent out, but unless they run 2 Typhon, they don't have it anymore. So they're going to Engraver attack over Desiree, and I'm going to Desiree negate their Agnumde, so that their Engraver is too small and their Engraver crashes. And at that point, they have no more. So yeah, eventually we win out in the grind game because of my opponent's greedy turn 1 play. But yeah, that was one of the more interactive games I played all month. And you know, shocking. It involves no Ryzeal and no Maliss deck, no Maliss cards. So yeah. Alright, so obviously the 2 most played decks right now in Master Duel are Ryzeal and Maliss. The 3rd most played deck is Tenpai. And my opponent, you know, speaking of Tenpai, my opponent has this Tenpai boss monster as their profile picture, Sky Striker Ace Rage, Sky Striker Ace Chandra, and they won the coin flip and made me go first. Joke's on them, I didn't draw a playable, so haha, man. Good luck with that. You know, I can't draw. I can't play the game anyways, and they're gonna go Blaster, dump Hydra, which is, this is crazy, by the way. Blaster, dump Hydra. Because I guess their logic is their Hydra was not going to resolve anyways, because I literally passed with 5 cards, including 2 sets. Like, they know their Hydra is just going to get negated anyways. Might as well just use it for Blaster to get rid of one of my back row first. Which, honestly, does not make that much of a difference, I'm not going to lie, because they still wasted their Hydra anyways. I would have just said better have it, and like, actually, and just punch for 17. But yeah, instead they targeted my Call by the Grave, and I Call by the Grave their Hydra. And now we're in this classic Tenpai Fiendsmith game state where you know, we got, between the 2 of us, we got 10 Handtraps and 0 1-card starters. So yeah, they have a Blaster Engrave they can't summon, and they got 5 Handtraps, and I got 5 Handtraps. Hell yeah, this is Yu-Gi-Oh, baby. We draw an Engraver, that was a good draw. So I'm gonna go Engraver, they're gonna Ash me, and then I'm gonna Call by the Grave the Ash, because I drew both Called by versus Tenpai like a sack. I also hard drew the Fiendsmith in Paradise. Like, it's not like my hand was that great either, even with the double Call by. But yeah, I'm gonna go Lurie, add Lurie, dump Lurie, special Lurie, and then here, I think this was a mistake by them. They're gonna go Marshami Fool Loss. So clearly they're bricked, okay? I know they're bricked, because they passed. So in reality, they should have held on to this Fool Loss in order to get a guaranteed draw. Because if they do this, I'm just gonna not do anything. I'm just gonna punch for 200 with Lurie, and I'm just gonna pass. And I know they still don't have a playable hand, so like that was not the best use of Fool Loss by them. They didn't guarantee themselves a draw. They didn't wait for me to make Requiem and then change the Requiem. So instead they're gonna draw and set. I draw another hand trap. You know, what else is new? Go into Requiem effect, and Requiem gets Dominus Impulsed. So Hell yeah, man. We're just playing a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! This game. So, fortunately, I have the Engraver still in Graveyard, so I am going to put back the Lurry and then send that to Engraver. And I'm going to equip the Requiem to the Engraver. I have attack for 24, baby. Engraver beats, and I'm going to go into Necrocript Princess. This Necrocript Princess is about to put in a ton of work, because I got 2 Handtraps in hand, baby. So, yeah, they're going to go activate Lightning Storm. Thank you. I actually wanted the Lightning Storm. Thank you for putting this Fiendsmith Paradise Engraver. The Lightning Storm actually helped me more than it helped them, because I finally got rid of this shit in my background that was just dead this entire time. But yeah, and then my opponent goes to the end phase. So in the end phase, I'm gonna use Maxi, because Maxi is terrible versus Tenpai anyways. I'm just gonna use it to get another draw off the next grip. So I drew an Ash. I'll take that. I'll take that exchange any day of the week. Ignore the fact that I was gonna top at the Ash anyways. But yeah, I'm gonna now go Engraver, go back to Requiem, summon Engraver. I'm going to go into Requiem again, Requiem effect, and summon out Lacrima. Lacrima gets Veiler, which is completely fine by me, because guess what? I get another Necrocript Princess draw. This Necrocript Princess has gone crazy. It's drawn 2 cards for me, just because of all the Handtraps flying around. And then I'm going to go into sequence, and then it gets Handtrap again, which is like, you know what? I got 6 cards, you got 0, you got 1 card. I'll take that. You know, feel free to Veiler my sequence. So now I'm going to use Track and Grave, because I did top deck a Dibbity, and now I can go into Lacrima, summon back Engraver, and this is game, because I can equip to the Engraver. This is 48, and then main phase 2, I can just link off the Lacrima and then deal the last 800 life points. And yeah, my opponent realizes that, and like finally, that's how that's how you. Did I even normal summon that game? I don't think I drew a single normal summon. I think that was just straight up 1 Engraver and a Dream versus. Between the 2 of us, we drew, I think, 2 starters and 20 Handtraps. Yeah, that's just the average Fiendsmith versus Tenpai matchup. Okay, so I'm not gonna lie, this is probably the least deserved game I've ever won. Because, first of all, again, I drew fucking Paradise again, and I bricked again. This is just fantastic, fantastic hands I'm drawing right now. And my opponent normal summons Ariana. So this is already shit, because I hard drew Nibiru and I hard drew Fiendsmith in Paradise versus the Labyrinth back row deck. So yeah, that's already not good. At least I can Veiler the Ariana, and unfortunately they're still gonna get set 3. So I'm thinking I'm fucked right now. Thankfully, look at this insane sequence of draws. Okay, so they're going to, for some reason, they're going to use Welcome Labyrinth in the draw phase. Don't really know why they did that, but I top deck a Fool Loss, and I'm going to change Fool Loss to the Welcome Labyrinth. When was the last time you were able to see a Fool Loss actually chain to a Welcome Labyrinth and like actually get a draw off that? But yeah, I am going to get a draw off the Fool Loss, and they're going to max me, and I'm going to call by the Maxi, because honestly I don't know what else I'm going to call by in the immediate future. So like, you know, maybe I top deck playable, and yeah. So chain resolves. They're going to summon an Ariana off the Welcome Labyrinth, and I top deck Gamma. Literally, I top decked the fucking Gamma. This was the exact card I needed to top deck. I needed to top deck Fool Loss to draw off Welcome Labyrinth, and to top deck aside from Gear Gamma in order to negate their Ariana on my turn, so that I can still keep them off engine, and then I also summon out 2 bodies. So like that was probably the sackiest thing I've ever had to do in my entire life. But yeah, now I'm gonna enter battle phase, and I'm just gonna attack over the Ariana. So now they're down to 2 cards. And unfortunately, you can't make Moon with Driver, so I have to normal summon the fucking Veiler, and then Veiler plus Gamma into Moon, and then they're gonna Dogmatic and Punishment the Moon, and then they're gonna draw a card. So yeah, this is real nice games with hours now. Now I'm still like not in a good position, even after that fucking sacky ass top deck. My opponent still has 3 cards to my 2. In fact, they have 3 cards to my 0, because Fiendsmith in Paradise and Nibiru, these are dead cards versus this matchup anyway. So yeah, unfortunately my opponent does not draw Engine, because we already got rid of 2 of their Arianas, and I top deck Lacrima, and I'm gonna normal summon Lacrima, and that's just going to Requiem, and that's gonna be enough to make my opponent concede. So yeah, that was keep in mind, I had to in sequence top deck Fool Loss, Gamma, Lacrima in order to win that game, and my opponent had to draw a blank their turn. That was holy shit, bro. Like that. mean, I wish I had that kind of luck when I go to casinos or something like that. I'm wasting it on fucking playing Fiendsmith Primite and Master Duel. But yeah. So yeah, if you don't want to play Maliss or Ryzeal, just play a deck with 19 Handtraps. Oh man, this game is this format is so good right now. I think the only other deck that can really play this hand trap lineup is Blue Eyes. So it's like either this or Blue Eyes if you want to run both triple Nibiru and triple Purge. It's rough. Like Ryzeal and Maliss especially, they're just such a higher power level over everything else that's playable right now. Like it's you can't like compete against those decks with just engine. You have to run. You have to have like a better non-engine lineup to deal with them. Like whether it be this or fucking Blue Eyes or fucking Tenpai. Like I'm running out of ideas here. Okay, it's like play one of those two or bust. And like I did my fair share of busting this month. Wait, hold.